Singer Bob Marley, his reggae music known far beyond its roots in Jamaica, died in a Miami hospital today after a long battle against cancer.
The Bob Marley mystery finally solved and isn't good. Bob Marley was born Robert Nesta Marley on February 6, 1945, in a small village of 9 Mile, Jamaica. His father, Norval Sinclair Marley, was a British naval officer stationed on the island, and his mother, Cedella Booker, was just a teenager when they met. Marley was often treated as an outsider among his own people because of his mixed-race background. From a young age, Marley understood what it meant to be different. Life in 9 Mile wasn't easy. The village was poor, isolated, and opportunities were few. But Marley's mother, Cedella, worked hard to raise him, instilling in him strength, faith, and pride in his roots. Despite the challenges, Marley's love for music began to shine early. As a child, he would sing with friends, create rhythms from household items, and soak in the rich sounds of Jamaican folk music. When Marley was 10 years old, his father died, leaving Cedella to raise him alone. By then, Marley's life had already shifted. He and his mother moved to Kingston, settling in Trenchtown, one of the most impoverished yet culturally vibrant neighborhoods in the city. Trenchtown was rough, filled with crime and political tension. That's where he met Bunny Livingston, later known as Bunny Wailer, and Peter Tosh, two teenagers who, like Marley, dreamed of escaping poverty through music. Together, they formed the Wailers, a group that blended powerful messages of unity, struggle, and resistance. By the late 1960s, the Wailers were gaining fame across Jamaica. But Marley wasn't just singing catchy tunes. His lyrics challenged the system and gave a voice to the poor and oppressed. As Marley's fame spread beyond Jamaica, he became more than a musician. He became a symbol of hope, a spiritual leader, and, to some powerful figures, a growing threat. And that was only the beginning. By the early 1970s, Bob Marley wasn't just another musician from the Caribbean. He had become a global figure. His lyrics criticized oppression, highlighted inequality, and empowered millions to stand up for their rights. Songs like Get Up, Stand Up, and I Shot the Sheriff weren't just hits, desperate to use his influence to gain control of the masses. But Marley refused to pick sides. He believed in unity, not division, and that decision made him a target for both camps. Meanwhile, international intelligence agencies kept a close watch. Marley's popularity, combined with his refusal to stay silent, made him more than a musician. He was becoming a political force, a cultural icon, and, to some, a problem that needed to be silenced. And the threats were about to get real. By the mid-1970s, he had become more than a singer. He was a political symbol, but not everyone saw that as a good thing. Inside Jamaica, the island's two major political parties were locked in a brutal power struggle, and both wanted Marley's support. His ability to inspire change and expose corruption made him the most powerful public figure in the country. But Marley refused to play their game. He stayed neutral, calling for peace without aligning with either side. That neutrality, however, only made him more dangerous to those desperate for control. Declassified files later confirmed that intelligence agencies were tracking him, concerned about his connections and his ability to stir social movements. As Marley continued to challenge injustice, the hidden players watching him were preparing their next move. The year 1977 marked the start of a dangerous new chapter for Bob Marley. Just months after surviving an attack in his own home, Marley faced a threat that no one could see coming. It wasn't a political ambush. It was something far more silent and just as deadly. It all began during a casual game of football in Paris. Football wasn't just a pastime for Marley, it was his favorite way to escape the pressures of fame, politics, and constant touring. But during that match, Marley suffered what seemed like a minor injury to his foot. A bruise. But this time, the wound didn't heal. Pain set in, followed by swelling. Marley sought medical advice, and the results were nothing short of shocking. Doctors diagnosed him with melanoma, a rare and aggressive form of skin cancer. Unlike common skin cancers, for Marley, the news was devastating. He was only 32, at the peak of his career with global fame and millions looking to him for hope and inspiration. Doctors immediately urged Marley to remove the affected toe, but Marley's beliefs as a Rastafarian complicated everything. Rastafarians hold the body as sacred. Instead, Marley underwent medication, hoping it would control the disease. On the surface, He tried to live life as usual and maintain the image of strength the world expected from him. But behind the scenes, those close to him noticed the subtle changes, moments of visible discomfort during performances. Still, Marley pushed through. But the most dangerous phase of his battle was still to come. Bob Marley's final days were marked by quiet struggle and unshakable determination. Despite his declining health, he refused to stop sharing his message with the world. But by May 1981, his body couldn't fight any longer. After months of battling cancer that had spread from his toe to his vital organs, Marley was flown to Miami for treatment. Surrounded by close family, his condition rapidly worsened. On May 11, 1981, at just 36 years old, Bob Marley passed away at Cedars of Lebanon Hospital, leaving behind not just his music, but a global movement that would never be the same. The world mourned the loss, but his death raised more questions than answers. Years after his death, leaked files revealed a shocking detail. Marley's name appeared in classified documents held by U.S. intelligence agencies, including the FBI. He wasn't the first musician to land on their radar. John Lennon, Jimi Hendrix, and others had faced similar scrutiny, but Marley's case stood out. Unlike many rock stars of the era, Marley wasn't just performing, he was building a global movement. They feared Marley's music was sparking resistance, pushing people to question authority, and uniting communities beyond borders. Even as Marley performed on the world's biggest stages, hidden forces were collecting information on him. Some of Marley's close associates even reported strange encounters, unfamiliar faces near concert venues, conversations that felt staged, and quiet warnings to stay cautious. It wasn't paranoia, it was a reality many influential artists of the time faced. Despite the surveillance, Marley never stopped spreading his message. But the leaked files raised unsettling questions. Was it just observation, or were there efforts to control or sabotage his career from the shadows? What is known is simple. As Marley's music inspired millions, it also triggered fear in powerful circles, and the eyes watching him never looked away. The world knows Bob Marley for his timeless albums, but few people know about the missing pieces of his musical legacy that mysteriously vanished before they ever reached the public. During the late 1970s, as Marley was recording some of his most iconic work, strange incidents began happening inside the studio. Unreleased songs, lost without a trace. The missing tapes cost Marley more than just creative control. They represented months of work, millions in potential revenue, and pieces of his legacy that could never be replaced. Rumors of sabotage quickly spread through Marley's inner circle. Some suspected rival artists or music executives, while others pointed fingers at hidden forces with their own agendas. After all, Marley wasn't just selling records, he was sending a message that some powerful groups wanted silenced. Some of the stolen recordings surfaced years later, sold through underground channels. Some believed it was the record industry itself, frustrated by Marley's refusal to compromise and his growing control over his own music. Others believed outside players, possibly those tracking him for years, were involved in suppressing certain messages. For Marley, the fight wasn't just on the streets or the stage. It was happening behind locked studio doors, where his music was supposed to be safe, but never truly was. Despite selling millions of albums worldwide, Marley's financial empire was anything but secure. The numbers didn't add up, bank accounts were empty, royalty payments vanished, and the people who should have protected his legacy were locked in courtrooms, fighting over control. At the heart of the chaos was one glaring mystery. Where did Marley's fortune go? In the final years of his life, Marley was earning more than ever. The revenue streams were massive, but when his estate was reviewed after his passing, the reported assets were shockingly low. Millions of dollars were unaccounted for. Publishing rights worth fortunes were tangled in complicated contracts that favored record companies, not Marley's family. Some of Marley's closest friends believed it wasn't an accident. They suspected the same industry figures who benefited from Marley's fame stood to gain even more after his death, and that's exactly what happened. In the years following his passing, sales of Marley's albums soared. The Marley brand became a billion-dollar empire. The truth about Marley's missing fortune remains buried in legal documents, sealed court settlements, and hidden bank records. Some of his family still push for answers. But decades later, the man who sang about unity and freedom, left behind a global empire. But the empire itself, shaped by greed, control, and battles few fans ever see. And the deeper you dig into Marley's finances, the more it's clear his story didn't end with his final song. It ended with questions that still haunt the people he left behind. The world saw Marley as a symbol of peace, a voice for the people, a man dedicated to breaking down barriers. But inside his own family, barriers existed that no song could fix. Marley's personal life was never simple, especially when it came to his relationships and his children. While married to Rita Marley, his longtime partner and bandmate, Marley fathered multiple children with other women. Some of those relationships were public, others stayed hidden for years, known only to his closest circle. In total, Bob Marley acknowledged at least 11 children, born to 7 different women. Marley never hid his Rastafarian beliefs, and with that came a different outlook on family and responsibility. But as his fame grew, so did the complexity of his family ties. Ziggy, Stephen, Damien, and other high-profile Marleys managed to preserve their father's musical legacy, but not without controversy. Some family members launched their own careers, while others struggled financially. The Marley surname opened doors, but it also came with expectations, pressures, and unresolved resentment. Today, Marley's name is everywhere. His music still plays on every continent. Songs like One Love, No Woman, No Cry, and Redemption Song aren't just classics, they're anthems for generations of people searching for peace, freedom, and identity. But Marley's influence extends far beyond music. He became a symbol for change, and a reminder that one voice can reach millions. And more than 40 years later, he may be gone, but the message, the fight, and the legacy are still alive. And for millions around the world, Bob Marley remains the voice that refuses to be silenced. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for further updates and click the next video on screen for another interesting story.